Hey everyone, we've got a massive storm heading for the United States over the next couple of days, and this one is going to bring a whole range of weather concerns. We're talking about the potential for heavy rainfall, which could lead to flooding in some areas, and on top of that, there's a risk of severe weather today and tomorrow. That includes damaging winds, large hail, and even the possibility of a few tornadoes. And if that wasn't enough, this system could even bring some snow and freezing rain to parts of the Northeast and the Ohio Valley. So in today's forecast, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about this storm, what impacts to expect, and what's coming as we head into the beginning of February. Right now, we have a large storm developing over the central and southern plains. Over the past 24 hours, we've already seen showers and thunderstorms, and that has led to some flooding in places like Dallas and parts of North Texas. And unfortunately, this is just the beginning. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, we're expecting a lot more rainfall, which could lead to flooding concerns across areas like Arkansas, Northeast Texas, and southeastern Oklahoma. This entire system is developing around a broad low pressure system that is currently spinning near the Four Corners region. At the same time, we have a ton of moisture being pulled in from both the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. All of that is combining to create a widespread area of heavy rain. And this system is only going to get stronger as we move through the rest of today and into tomorrow. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button like this video and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Aside of the storm system, things are relatively quiet across most of the country. But the West Coast is looking nice at the moment, though we do have some atmospheric river events ramping up soon, which will bring some rainfall. The East Coast is also quiet for now, but that's going to change as this system moves eastward. Kermaxons, before I continue, I just want to take a moment to send my condolences to anyone affected by the accident at Reagan National Airport involving an American Airlines flight and a helicopter. Just really scary stuff. I was following everything unfold on Twitter and Facebook last night, and my thoughts go out to everyone impacted by that incident. Now, let's talk about the severe weather potential. Today, the highest risk for severe storms is across the deep south and the southern plains, particularly in southeast Texas and Louisiana. That does include the Houston metro area. There's also a marginal threat for severe weather extending into central Texas and western Mississippi. The biggest concerns today will be damaging winds and hail, but there's also a small but notable risk for tornadoes. Now, personally, I'm not super confident in a significant tornado outbreak today, but there's still enough of a threat that we need to be prepared. Even if the tornado risk isn't extremely high, we could still see a few of them. And in situations like this, it only takes one strong tornado to cause significant damage. So if you're in southeast Texas or central Louisiana, make sure you have a tornado action plan and multiple ways to receive alerts. The best chance for any tornadoes today will likely be in southeast Texas and central Louisiana, but even Arkansas and western Mississippi could see a brief tornado or two. Now, I do want to stress that today's tornado risk isn't looking overly impressive, but there is enough wind shear out there to support at least an isolated tornado threat. The big question is whether or not we get enough instability to really get these storms going. A lot of times during this time of year, the computer models overestimate how much instability will actually be there. But if we do get enough instability, then the tornado threat will peak this afternoon and into the early evening hours. First tornadoes do develop, they will likely be at their strongest between mid-afternoon and sunset. After that, the severe weather threat should begin to diminish as we move into the late evening and overnight hours. Storms are going to continue all day across the southern plains. A line of thunderstorms will slowly move east through eastern Texas, and that is going to bring the potential for flash flooding. As we move into the early afternoon, that line will start to weaken a bit, but I do think it will re-intensify later in the day, especially around 4 or 5 p.m. as it moves into Louisiana and Arkansas. So if we see any isolated storms pop up ahead of the main line, that's where the tornado threat will be highest. There's plenty of wind shear in place, but the big question is whether or not we'll have enough instability. Personally, I think the tornado threat will stay on the lower side, with the biggest concern being damaging winds. But again, we'll be watching closely. We'll be on a standby today in case we need to go live for coverage. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and that you have notifications turned on so you don't miss anything. If things ramp up, we'll be here with real-time updates. Beyond the severe weather, this storm is going to continue growing in size over the next 24 hours. Now, It's not looking like a major winter storm or a historic tornado outbreak, but it is still a very large system. We're talking about widespread showers and thunderstorms today and tomorrow, and that's going to lead to problems, especially with the risk of flooding. On top of that, some areas could see some snow and freezing rain by tomorrow morning. Rain will be widespread across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and Dixie Alley. Then as we move to Friday morning, some areas in northern Pennsylvania and southwestern New York could see freezing rain and snow, especially in the higher elevations. That could lead to some slick travel conditions, so be mindful of that if you're in those areas. On Friday, the storm will continue pushing eastward, and there will be a low-end risk for severe weather along the Gulf Coast. That could bring some damaging winds and maybe even a brief tornado. Meanwhile, snow will start developing from Michigan into the Northeast late Friday night. But this is going to be a quick hitting snow event, and I don't expect a lot of accumulation. Most places will only see a coating to a couple of inches, though some higher elevations in southern New Hampshire and Vermont could pick up around 2 to 4 inches. Looking further ahead, I know a lot of you are wondering when we'll see the next big winter storm. Originally, we thought this system might be the one, but it's not shaping up to be a major winter event. Right now, there's no strong signal for a big winter storm in the immediate future, but that could change as we head deeper into February. I do think winter will make a comeback later this month, but for now, we're mostly looking at smaller clipper systems coming out of Canada. Now, let's take a look at the European model, which has been really consistent with showing cold weather. We'll compare that to the GFS model in just a minute. So this is the overnight run from the European model, and the GFS run for 12 says, and we're already seeing some big differences. Models have been jumping around, especially the GFS. So don't think this cold front is a guarantee yet. Not every single model run is showing it, but the majority are. That's where we're at right now. So we're starting with a low pressure system developing and dragging a cold front and a warm front with it. And that means severe weather is possible for areas like Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and maybe even Mississippi and Tennessee. Typically, the warm front doesn't lead to severe thunderstorms. It's more about persistent rain, sometimes even frozen precipitation further north. But this situation could be different. We're already seeing some wintry weather up north, and out west. Colorado and New Mexico are picking up snow thanks to this storm system. Fast forward to Friday, January 31st, and we're still seeing snow along the warm front for the Great Lakes and Northeast, and a cold front dragging through, making for more severe weather and thunderstorms overnight for the Southeast coast. It's going to be a warm one for the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast, with temps in the 70s for some areas. Yes, you heard that right. 70s in January, that's a rare setup that could bring in thunderstorms, and it's something to keep an eye on. Now, as we move into February, the storm system in the west continues to bring heavy snowfall and rain, and it looks like it's going to stay stormy out there for several days. On Saturday, February 1st, we are still seeing snow and rain out west. A cold front will cool things down for the Northeast. As for Sunday, February 2nd, the storm that moved along the west coast will now bring some snow showers to eastern Canada, the Great Lakes, and Northeast. We're seeing a zonal flow here, which is uncommon, but does happen sometimes. It's a pattern that will bring colder temps to the north and milder weather to the south, which might look like average conditions, but it's actually a bit of a weird setup. Moving towards the middle of the month, there's still the possibility of heavier snowfall for parts of the Northeast, and another storm system out west will bring more snow and rain. So as we get into Monday, February 3rd, we're looking at another round of snow in the mountains, while a warm push will keep things mild on the East Coast. By Wednesday, February 5th, we could see some isolated thunderstorms stretching as far north as Indiana, Illinois, and Kentucky, depending on how the temperatures shake out. By Friday, February 7th, we see more thunderstorms pushing up from the Gulf, and by Saturday, February 8th, we could see a shift in the pattern with cold air finally trying to push eastward, bringing snow to the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and parts of New England. We might even see a few thunderstorms along with that cold front. If you're in the Southeast, don't get too comfortable just yet. There's still the potential for some cooler weather, and by February 9th, it looks like we're in for a full-blown eastern cool down. The next few weeks are going to keep things interesting with a mix of warmer and colder periods. While some of the models are predicting a warm-up, we might still see some significant cold and snowy weather, especially around the 8th to the 15th of February. The models have been flipping around a lot, but the European model still seems to show a colder, snowier pattern. So I wouldn't throw in the towel on winter just yet. If you've been following along with the updates, you know that this warm up isn't going to last forever. And if the models hold true, we could see some real winter weather return later in February, even some snow for parts of the South. I'm definitely excited to see how things play out, and I'll be here to track it with you. Be sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon for daily notifications, and like the video if you enjoyed the update. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video.